Let's say anywhere from 2 to 5 days.
How long?
Roughly 2 to 5 days, maybe. I
Beautiful. All right.
I usually don't do germination. I do clones whenever we're doing cuts.
Beautiful. And we can still see the screen now. We can see presentation,
Yeah.
right? All right. Sweet. So for male versus female, Nigel, how are you able to determine the difference, and what are the different plants do for sex wise?
Right. So male and female plants kind of serve different purposes. So female plants are kind of what everyone knows of when you think of the cannabis plant. It's like the one that produces the big buds, whereas the males produce seeds and pollen. So you can take pollen from males, and that genetics is preserved and can be crossed into another one, or you can cross it back into the genetics to try and get more traits of that specific strain. But anyway, the whole point is that you kind of want to separate females from males, and you can tell kind of 3 to 4 weeks in, they start to develop the traits that kind of show kind of if it has what reproductive organs it has. So that's kind of when you can sex the plant. But when you separate the two, so when you take males out of the equation, it sexually frustrates the female and it creates larger fruits. And on top of that, there's no seeds, because when it's pollinated, that's when it has seeds. That's why everyone says like boof weed has seeds in it. It's like grown in like a field with like a bunch of males and females. So the pollination happens all the time.
Got you. Thank you. So
of course.
Yeah, so this to your point, right? Cloning trays and momming plants. So what is it? What would you say are like the few need to knows on these?
Okay, so for cloning trays, cloning is a cool process that we does. So like, say I have an OG Kush plant. If I were to take a branch and cut the bottom of it and add some like hormone gel and put it in a plug, like a dirt plug, it would grow the exact same plant over again. Like same type of high, same terp profiles, if you treated it the same, all that type of stuff. So clones are good because they're giving you the exact same type of plant. So that's really huge when it comes to like the big name genetics. Like I was saying earlier, having cuts of those is like pretty important. Like yeah, also ask questions. Feel free to ask questions. I'm all about it. And that's why people have mom plants. So mom plants kind of stay in the veg cycle so that you can use them for their cuts and kind of keep having the same exact plant that you can grow at a commercial scale. So cloning is for growing the babies that come from cutting those branches off the mom, and momming plants are kind of perpetually keeping them from the flower cycle, so you can use them to make clones of themselves.
Got you. And so that one point I was kind of interested. You said perpetually keeping from the flower cycle. What does that mean?
Right. So there's 2 light cycles that you can give the plant.
All right. You know what? Let's wait. That's gonna come up. All
right.
It's gonna come up.
Medium selection. So medium selection. So this is a cool topic that I've kind of been learning about recently. I actually have a book right here that's about organic gardening that I've been reading. It's about like regenerative agriculture instead of kind of using dirt and then just throwing it away because there's no nutrients in it. A lot of growers do that, and I don't mean to knock that. That's kind of what we do at my grow. We put plants in the soil, in buckets of soil, and then when they're done, we cut the plant out and then we throw the soil out and put it in the back and like mulch it and everything. Or you could do hydroponics, which is another method. That's kind of only giving the plant water, so you're not submerging it in any soil. Soil is kind of a medium for other life to grow in. That's why like you have things like worms and stuff that move around soil outside, and that's a whole different other style of growing. So like a big thing, like the organic thing that I was talking about, is living soil. So that's kind of like putting a lot of different microbes and different biotics in a plant's living like ecosystem. So it creates like symbiotic relationships and makes the plant grow from other plants' growth. That makes any sense. I feel like I just rambled. I'm sorry. But yeah, no, there's different ways you can grow it. Some people do like hydroponics, aquaponics, soil, cocoa powder, like different shit like that.
Wow. Thank you.
Of course.
The
lighting selection. Yeah, so this is kind of, So kind of the whole point of growing cannabis indoors is that you're trying to create climate conditions that would be considered perfect for the plant in nature. And that mainly includes trying to recreate the light that the sun makes. And so these three systems kind of all do different things. Earlier in the presentation, I forgot what the guy's name that Solar, yeah, whatever.
Cool.
But he was saying use LEDs. Those are the best way to be energy efficient, and they give good lighting spectrum for plants, and they're low cost to maintain, but they're really expensive up front. HPS lights, high pressure sodiums, they create a lot of heat, which can be good for the plant, but it can kind of be excessive at times when you have a lot in one space. I don't really know anything about CMHs. So,
Right.
but mainly what you're trying to do is give a full spectrum of light to the plant so that it can grow the best way possible.
And why do you need a full spectrum for?
It kind of allows the plant to thrive. It encourages the plant to grow more terpenes, more cannabinoids, like those type of things that are really like medicinal. It's basically its defense mechanism.
Interesting. Okay. Required nutrients. You want to touch on this? We can keep it pushing.
Yeah, absolutely. No, NPK is a huge thing. So like if you look on any bag of grow medium or like nutrients, which maybe will come. Yeah, this is nutrients. They'll have 3 numbers on the front of the containers, and that's for the nitrogen, the potassium, and the phosphorus. My bad. I was about to say, got me on the chemistry out here. So the secondaries, is this in Spanish? That's hilarious. Micronutrientes. But yeah, so these are all different elements that are useful to encouraging plant growth in different ways. And so like if a plant ever has like yellowing leaves or kind of the tips are starting to wilt, typically that's an issue with like nitrogen. So like the plant needs more nitrogen. So like the way people do it with organic soil is like you have plants that pull nitrogen like from the air and put in the soil. Nutrient solution you can put in your water and water plants. That's what a lot of growers do. A lot of growers use stuff like, have you ever heard of who Big Mike is? He has a nutrient line. Yeah, so nutrients are kind of like the thing that you give to the plant in its veg cycle, and then you switch to different ones in its flower cycle to encourage bigger flowers from the plant.
All right, fire.
pH. Yeah, so you pretty much, I mean, you know, I don't know much to say about this, but like pH is really important when taking into consideration watering the plant. Having the water be too alkaline or too acidic can really mess with how the plant takes up nutrients. So yeah.
All right. Yeah, just give us what you know. That's all we need to know.
That's all I can give. You know what I mean? That's all I can give. The seedling stage. So yeah, so this is like when the red solo cups are perfect. That's like what industry standard, I guess, you know, most people that I know use. That's kind of the beginning stages when you just want the plant to essentially develop roots, when you want it to get some type of hold. After this point, like it's pretty sensitive at this point, so you're pretty much just trying to give it pretty small amount of light, just give it water, encourage basic growth pretty much, and then you're going to transplant those into larger units of soil so the roots can spread out further and make the plant get bigger.
Fire.
Bigger the roots, the bigger the fruits. Exactly. So veg, yeah. So this is kind of what you were talking about earlier, Nadir, like keeping the plants as moms. Yep. So veg is like the first 4 to 5 weeks of when you have a plant. Pretty much, it's the point where it goes from like, it's like the point of when you become a baby to when you're a teenager. It's kind of like that fast stretching growth. And then flower is kind of adulthood. Like you get your personality solidified, like things get more together. It's like, I don't know, it's different. They're different parts of life. You know what I mean? Like post-college, pre-college, very different. So yeah, veg, and you can keep these plants. So the way that they know to be in veg or flower is that if the plant has 12 hours or more of light, then it'll flip into being in veg
Wow.
state.
Yeah.
So if you give it less light, if you put it on a 12-12 cycle, it'll start the flower process.
So 12-12 meaning 12 on, 12 off.
Right. So if you do like more than 12, then it'll keep it in veg.
Got you. So that's what you do for mom plants. You're keeping them in veg.
Right. So you give them more than enough light, so that they're constantly staying in a veg state. And you'd always clip them so that they don't get too big. Just keep them nice and pruned up. You know what I mean? Just pretty much to preserve the genetics.
Right. So like you said, right, to preserve the genetics. Why is it, if it's a bigger plant, that the genetics are not as preserved per se, or?
Not even. It's just because it's an indoor setting. So like,
Right.
you're only limited by however much the ceiling is. It's not outdoor. You can't have it be a tree.
Got you. And how long can you have like mom plants for?
As long as you can keep them alive.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then that's I guess, like you said, the kind of one of the key important parts of maintaining genetics is maintaining those moms.
Exactly. There's a guy named Capulator. You can look him up on Instagram. He has really beautiful plants. He's a breeder that made Mac, if you've ever heard of him. I'm throwing out strains, but Nadir, you might have heard of them. It's like Miracle Alien Cookies, but that's like a revered strain, and it's like called Cap's Cut, the phenotype that he has. So like that's like revered among like all experienced growers. Nobody goes, you either go 15 years of growing or more before you get that cut. So it's like that type of thing, you know what I mean?
Right. So can you talk a little bit? So somebody said, so keeping the mom allows you to keep cloning. What if it flowers?
You messed up then. You gotta keep it as a mom, you know what I mean? Like the only way it would flip into flower is if you changed the light cycle on it at all. And that's why he said they keep the moms in a separate room with a glass pane. So those flowers are always kept on that light cycle. That never changes for them.
Beautiful. All right, word. Yeah, that makes sense there. I know I've seen, like you said, Spencer at Mammoth has got some nice moms.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, yeah, it's important. They grow fire at Mammoth.
Beautiful. So after veg, it gets to, like you said, adulthood, right? So what's
Right.
happening there?
So this is when the buds start to form.
And how long are the plants in the flower cycle?
So this depends kind of. You can do 5 to 6-ish week, or 4 to 6-ish weeks for an indica, and it can go up to like 12 weeks for a sativa. Sativa is super different. But yeah, most of what we grow at our grow are indica dominant. They get to be some get to be tall that are like sativa leaning, but most of what we do are bushy, bigger plants.
Got you. And so, yeah, like during this flowering process, right, this is when the buds start to form that we know, right?
Mm-hmm.
In terms of like weed.
Yeah, exactly. This is the stuff. This is when it starts producing cannabinoids. So like I was saying earlier, cannabinoids are kind of, and like the resin that coats it, the big trichome glands that everyone sees that like makes weed look so sparkly and pretty, are a defense mechanism of the plant. So like the oil that covers it is like defense. So methods that growers use a lot to encourage more resin development are methods like training. It can be called low stress training or high stress training, where it can be so much as like altering the room to get really hot so that the plant kind of sweats out resin, or using like a netting. If you've ever seen in a grow, they have netting that the plant grows through, and that's kind of to make it work to get up to the lights.
Some might call that scrogging.
Yep, scrogging, see a green, screen of green. And you also, if you're in any grow, like Nadir, you'll know this, like there's always fans. Like fans are rolling everywhere constantly, and that's to push the plant around so it develops stronger stems going off of it.
Okay, I didn't know that. I didn't know why they had them. I thought it was just one of those temperature things. But
it's to move air around also, so nothing gets too damp and moist if it's hot. But it's mainly it's a big part of it is to make the branches on it really strong.
Okay, look, boom. So they said, yeah, early flowering stage 1 to 3 weeks, mid flowering stage 4 to 5 weeks, flowering 6 weeks in, harvest. So that's kind of the range they gave us.
Exactly. So the you see in the plants on the left, the hairs on it are orange. So a big thing that you can see in plants when you're growing them, I also encourage everyone, if you can legally, to grow your own plant, because it's like a really rewarding process and you learn so much about the plant. Even if you mess up, like it's a weed. It's the most resilient thing ever. So like it'll bounce back like whatever you really give it. But like I encourage everybody to do it anyway, because it kind of shows its personality to you. But when the plant's growing, it has white hairs that are growing off of it. And the more it matures, the more these hairs turn yellowed. And that's kind of a sign of maturity that you can tell, is like when you don't see any more white hairs, you know it's ready for harvest.
Good to know. A little flush? What's a flush?
All right, cool. So those nutrients that I was telling y'all about earlier, it's like a lot of those, it's like additives kind of, and it can be organic still, but it's things that like zinc or iron, or things that are meant to make the plant go and get clean, like big, get bigger and grow bigger fruits. But it's not made for us to consume. So flushing is like the last 1 week of flower, you just give it straight water, nothing else, just water, no nutrients, nothing else. And that kind of allows the plant to kind of sweat out the nutrients that it has. So if you're smoking ever and it's white ash, that means they gave it a good flush. And that's what everyone says is like the mark of good smoke.
Why does that mean it gave it a good flush?
That's just,
All right, cool.
I think it's the carbon burning off is the like scientific reason behind it.
Right. So it's kind of like actually flushing for like a piss test.
Yeah, honestly. Honestly, yeah, it's flushing to be clean for us.
Beautiful.
Properly harvest. Yeah, cool. This is what my company does. So what we do at the facility and what we do with a lot of our clients out in Oklahoma is we'll take down plants at the bottom, like you'll see, and we'll hang them. And you put it in a room that's temperature controlled, and you allow it to dry for a week and a half ish. It can be 2 weeks depending on how it is. The buds can be really moist. And you can check by always like feeling them, and if it feels kind of spongy and wet, then like you definitely don't want to. And then after that, you'll put them in airtight containers to cure. And that'll take like kind of the same amount of time, like a week and a half ish. And so once you've deprived it of light and given it airtight, and it stays in the same air pretty much for a little while, that's kind of when you see those, or sorry, you do, you dry them and then you trim them and then you cure them. And the trimming process is kind of something that you'll see happens everywhere. People are always looking for trimmers. That's mainly getting the buds dispensary ready. If you look at the second picture on the right, it's covered in leaves. And it's like, if you know, any of you guys have bought pot, like, you know, it doesn't look anything like that. It's like the buds. It's like the meat of what you want pretty much. So you trim those, then you put them in the airtight containers, and let those cure for a time, and then they're ready to be shipped out to dispensaries pretty much. Or alternative process, you can take them from this point and flash freeze them and use them for concentrates, which is what a lot of people do. Some people use the trim for concentrates, but a lot of people will take plants and use the flash frozen from that to make.
Yeah, you're freezing plants, you said, right? So how do you freeze a plant? I don't understand that.
You put them in a plastic bag and throw them in the freezer. You're straight up freezing the plants.
So and for how long are you doing that?
You can do that as long as you want, honestly. The main reason that we do it is to kind of freeze the trichome glands on the plant. And then you put that, you wash those in bubble bags, if you've ever heard of that. And it knocks the trichomes off and flushes it down a tube, down these micron bags. And it gives you bubble hash. So it's like water hash that's like, it's.
Right. I always say this is like sifting for gold.
Yeah, literally, man. It's gold. It is gold. Like that is, yeah, good hash is like primo in cannabis, you know.
Hash is just those THC, those trichomes just all packed up together.
Exactly. It's like the essence. It's like when it's pretty much if you were to smoke the plant without any of the green on it. Which is crazy because people associate green with cannabis, but it's that's just the vegetative property.
Work opportunities. You can definitely speak to this, man. How the hell did you go from being a student athlete to being somebody who's growing weed and was still a student athlete.
I got the system. Yeah, man, that's crazy. I guess I can talk about that now.
Like, what's your journey from like learning smart? You didn't do this.
Yeah, bro. I was about to say we talked about this my freshman year. I was like, I thought I wanted to be like, I thought I wanted to do like plant medicine of some sort, and then I was like, maybe I want to be like an environmental lawyer or something. And I had this weird like, I don't know. Everybody's gone through it, I'm sure. You know, it's that identity crisis of like, what the hell am I gonna do with my life? And kind of, my mom had always told me like, do what you love, growing up. And you know, it was a pretty unconventional answer for most people, I'm sure. But like my whole life growing up, weed's been a part of it. Like, you know, like Wiz Khalifa had me. I guess I can't endorse what age I started smoking, but it was pretty young. You know what I mean? Like, weed's been a big part of my life. Still made it to an Ivy League university. Still was an athlete. Like, no brain damage, none of that. You know what I mean? Cannabis.
Right. So yeah, what was your first step, right, from having that dream of wanting to do it to actually getting into a cultivation facility?
Man, so my sophomore year, I pretty much took the entire year to annoy the piss out of people. And by that, like I cold emailed over like 140 people,
Mm-hmm.
and I had like 4 answer me, and 3 of them I wasn't age eligible for.
Right.
So I ended up getting an internship in Denver, Colorado. Um, and that summer was really dope. I worked with a company called LEVO Oil. They make infusers for you to make like can of butter or can of oil, and you can infuse it in your foods. But that was a really good experience. That was my first exposure to the industry. And honestly, it was just because I was persistent and pretty much kept knocking on doors till somebody was like, what do you want? And I was like, a job. So kind of, I don't know. If you're interested in cannabis, you will get a job in it. Like, I promise. Like, if you work hard enough, um, it'll get there. What somebody say? My involvement was hard, really silly. Yeah, honestly, man. And it's crazy because there's no organized group of people that are young that are like, we're here for weed. Like, you know, like weed's been very culturized in the last like couple years, if that makes any sense. Like,
Like, we get you. We get you.
yeah, it's like the
Hey,
thing, you know what I mean? And like all power to it because it's supposed to be. It's the plant. It's like it's been a part of humans' lives for forever. But you know, it's just like, I don't know.
no,
You have to bug the piss out of people, and you have to show that you're passionate about this. And if you do that, people will give you the opportunity. So I pretty much went from that, and I kind of found my love for cannabis. We did Smart. That's been going on. Jim's been doing great
you
with
did
that.
LEVO oil, Nigel, and then
Yeah,
how'd you go from
Levo
LEVO?
to Smart, and then I had then I went to Reynolds, which was a tobacco company, totally left field. Wasn't expecting to do that, but I saw it as exposure to kind of a regulated industry that was specializing in consumer packaged goods, um, which is a big part of where cannabis is going to take off to. You're going to see prepackaged like
And,
joint things everywhere like that. And so I wanted to get exposure to that. What's up, Nadir?
and then from Reynolds, how'd you get to the weed?
Right. So from there, I pretty much went through like the government website and looked through all the licensed grows, looked for any social pages they had, looked for any types of information that they gave out to the public, even on accident, so that I could email them or something and just be like, hey man, I really enjoy the possibility of growing weed with you guys. I emailed, there's 33, 34 cultivation centers in Rhode Island. And I'm pretty sure I emailed like probably 15 of them. And some of them were like, we'll hire trimmers like later in the fall, and I was like, I'm not interested in trimming. Some were like, you know, we're filling part-time positions soon, and I was like, I'm kind of do this the whole time. And then my boss kind of sent back an email that said, how did you get this email? And I was like, oh, you're an OG. You know, like anyone who's like paranoid about how did you find me definitely has been growing weed for a long time. But I just told him, you know, I found it on like the Department of Business Regulations website. can I come talk to you about your grow? He said, yeah, come by. We talked 15 minutes, smoked a J together. I was like, is it cool if I work here? He was like, yeah, man, sure. I'd love it. So Jay's been teaching me cultivation since. Honestly, if you're in a legal state and there's cultivators around you, do it, man. Cause I did it for free initially. And then my boss was like, we'll pay you, man. You've been working. And so then I started getting paid. I didn't do it with any expectation to get paid. It just was kind of a thing that came along with it. So it was also bugging the piss out of everyone. So whoever had a grow that wanted to let me in, like I bugged Spencer too. I bugged everyone, bro. I was steady trying to get a job.
And I mean, like, if y'all listen to Nigel's story, he didn't take the trimming jobs like he maybe should have. And so, there was plenty of opportunity for him to go and get a ground level position, because the main thing that you want to do is get in the door.
Should be around the plant, man. The more you're around it, the more you learn. The more you learn, the more it's applicable to a job.
And yeah, it might be a little bit more linear in terms of your trajectory, right? From going to trimmer to trying to scale up in opportunities in whatever facility you may be interested in. But then, yeah, even if you're not at that level yet, I would say to folks that are interested, just, do your due diligence as much. Like, we're having this session now. I would say, Nigel, to the second question, it says, what are some cultivation resources or other ways to build a foundation? Would you have like recommendations there?
My first one was, like I said earlier, like I really encourage everyone to like just grow. You can buy seeds for however much you can find them for. There's kind of a law loophole right now where breeders call them souvenirs. So if you don't intend to plant the seeds in the ground and buy them, you can get them as souvenirs. So go buy souvenirs and plant those and try growing. Outside of that, internet is freaking amazing, man. I learned so much. YouTube is the best thing ever. Growers Network is super cool. Cali Grow 420 is a super cool YouTube page where he goes step by step through his home grow. And it's cool. He shows his like nutrient solutions, the mixes he uses, the soil, explains why he does everything he does. Really useful. Like that, like YouTube, Google, and books. Ed Rosenthal. I know I'm rambling at this point, but
Ed Rosenthal, I want you to say that.
He's the man. Ed Rosenthal's the man. He wrote the Grower's Bible, which is what I first read when I started wanting to grow. And that kind of tackles everything, like nutrients, lighting, resistance training, like air, different types of things like that.
You said Cali Grow 420?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's his name.
So we got one question. How competitive is it for cultivators to find buyers?
Man, I'm so glad you said that.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, in Rhode Island, it's pretty damn difficult. And that
bro, it is.
Go ahead, Nigel. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I like, I'm about to, pop off. Yeah, it's crazy, man. So there's 33, 34 grows in Rhode Island, and there's 3 dispensaries. So at this point, dispensaries are buying pounds off grows for like 1,600, which like decent compared to Cali prices, but like Massachusetts, it's going for like $4K a pound, which is steep. That's immense. That's crazy.
Yeah, I think in reality, like the numbers in between there, maybe closer to the 1,600 as cannabis gets commodified.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody knows.
No, it is. So, but yeah, no, it depends where you're at pretty much. And it depends on what the tax structure is. It's state by state right now. So like somewhere like Rhode Island, you won't get a cultivation license unless somebody else liquidates their business and gives you their license.
Right. And I mean, and also to answer the question, right, in other states like California, you have a better chance to get in with retailers because it's a little bit more like going to a sneaker shop and selling your clothes in that sneaker shop. And if they want to, or like even more so on the radio, when they're playing your song on the radio and a lot of people are pay for play to get on the shelf, you know what I mean? To get in the sound waves. It's very much like that in California, where Rhode Island is a strictly medical market, right?
Exactly.
With limited licensing and also even more, even a much smaller dispensary network. So your opportunity as a cultivator is like, 1 in 3, and they already have and one of those people already has their own grow license. So it's like, what are you using you for? So that's why it's like definitely paramount in Rhode Island. And I'm surprised there's still that many growers, but once they like, it's not to say that the demand for 33 cultivators isn't there. It's just that the way the system and the regulations are set up doesn't allow for that. So that's always the, right now cannabis is so market by market that for all of those considerations that you have to have like your own slide and be like, is this how it is for Rhode Island? Is this how it is for New Jersey? Is this how it is? Like, there's no federal guidelines there yet.
At all, like zero. And that's for like taxes, that's for everything. Like my boss was having an issue trying to claim like losses on her taxes and her,
Nigel, so we got one question, right? So you grow on a large scale. What would you say is necessary for somebody who's asking for a friend, about that one plant grow?
Right. So honestly, all you really need in terms of a one plant grow is a tent, ventilation system, something that'll recycle the air in and out. A light is the biggest thing. There's a really good article on Leafly that you could check out that gives you 3 different budgets that you can work with, and that's like 500, 1,000, 1,500, and that can, like for a one plant, like you can do for less than 1,000. You can get a small one plant grow. For less than 500. But yeah, no, there's good resources on Leafly that I would recommend. Look up Leafly.
I'm gonna drop some links real quick.
Yeah, drop a link for it because that's a really good.
I don't know if it's the exact article. There's a step by step, and then I'll get the.
There's one that like breaks down budget on.
Well, we're gonna need you to get that to Jess.
I got that.
All right, cool. Yeah, Nigel's gonna get that for us. Fantastic. Cool. All right. Yeah. So, any other questions generally from folks right now? Can you link the Cali Grow 420? Yes. All right, Spencer. Appreciate you. Bye.
Let's see. I'll put that here.
Oh, that's the one right there?
Yeah, that's the one.
Oh, he found it. Beautiful.
What was the other one? YouTube Cali Grow.
Yep. I'm going to look at that article myself.
Yeah, bro. It's 100, 500, 1,000.
That's a dope article title.
Right?
That's how you get me to click on an article.
Exactly. You talking about affordability? Let's see, Cali.
The Nano Grow. I think that's where you're at, Jess. For your friend.
Here it is, Cali Green.
Beautiful. So Nigel, what would you say is someone like a piece of advice you wish somebody gave you before you started this, and besides annoy the piss out of people?
Yeah. Sorry if that was too blunt. Main advice, just be a sponge, man. Cause guaranteed there are so many people in this world that you don't know exist yet that know so much about this plant. So any chance that you get to learn about it, soak it in, learn about the different cultures and the different ways that people have used it, whether that's making hashish or making cannabis milk in India or different things like that. Just kind of learn the fact that the plant kind of has a universal history and how important it is. And I think everyone in the community loves and respects that in other people. And that's kind of why it's different from every other industry. I don't see anybody come together over a love for Coors Light. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's just, yeah, cannabis is unifying. So like the more you learn about it, the further you can go in this.
Beautiful. That's fine. Other questions from folks you want to put in the chat? You can turn mics on.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm free to answer anything if you guys are curious.
Tana, I see you in here. Tana's the truth. Tana's over there. She's she was the one who commented about her involvement with Smart really sealed the deal. And I definitely say like continuing to be a part of Smart is one of those ways that folks can see that you're putting in an effort. You can put something on your resume. Like we're one of those groups that's like, I'm a member. And we have resources online, and obviously we're going to continue to do these things minus the hiccups to make sure that y'all getting the proper information. Because that's definitely been, like you said, Tana worked with Smart, and now are you still at Anita? Can you
Oh,
confirm?
you're at Nita?
Yeah, she was at New England Treatment
Yeah,
Activist.
yeah. I put in an application to them.
There you go. See, up, he annoyed the piss out of them.
Yeah, I talked to the dude that was a bud tender, and he was like, "Yeah, man, apply."
Yeah, so that was one, like, I know Kim Napoli who works there, and I remember Tana was applying, and they reached out. She reached out on her behalf, and I was able to just be like, hey Kim, like, we got some folks in your pipeline that's looking to get an opportunity, and they were more than happy. And Tana aced it. She came prepared, right? It's not like we're just sending somebody through and they're
Right.
not doing their due diligence to represent as best as possible. So I appreciate you, Tana. You're always a amazing story to tell folks about. And yeah, I know right now we're going to be, the next webinar I believe we'll be planning is around branding and marketing from the CEO of Herb. So I'm working at Herb currently, running head of social at Herb on Instagram, herb.co on the real life web. And so, we've been working there. We've been, we just launched Herb Pickup, which is now all over Canada. And basically you can just go and pick up a head, go online, place an order, and pick up a head online. So it's definitely cool to be a part of that, in terms of making things accessible. And I really want to bring Matt, our CEO, to Smart, to introduce him to our community, because I know at Herb we're going to be probably rolling out an ambassador type program where Herb is going to be looking for folks all over at different colleges, and we already have one person from Trinity College in Connecticut. And so yeah, like I said, I want to bring Matt on. He's pretty funny. He's definitely smart and knows about branding and marketing in the space, and that's how he's built Herb. And so yeah, I think that'll be something that we can all benefit from. And they'll definitely be taking much more information. Excuse me, I want to get more info from y'all on who else you want to see during this time of quarantine, right? So in the group me, definitely reach out if you're not there. For folks who need to get a hold of me, here's my email and then my Instagram. I'll probably say email, and using both is probably the best way to get a hold of me for right now. Like, hit me with an email and then follow up with me on DM, and then we can practice how you should reach out to people. I got y'all. Jess, thanks for staying with us. I appreciate you for tuning in. And yeah, I think that'll be it, if that's it.
Yeah, reach out to me if you have any questions about growing or anything.